Hello, and welcome to our ClearCheck new features in version 2.0. So we're going to begin with a multi-met SRS lesion, and I'm going to go ahead and run ClearCheck like normal. In this case, I'll use my hotkey, and we're going to start in Template Manager. I'm going to show you a few new things. The first one is the ability to now sort by tags. So you'll still have your folder option that you see here, but now you'll also have these tags. And when we hop over into admin, I'll show you a couple of ways that those could be used. So let's add this brain SRS template to our patient. And I'm going to show you a new dose constraint feature that we added in for conformality index, gradient index, max dose table, paddock conformity index, the volume table, and gradient measure constraints. The way that this works is you'll click on your conformality index, for example, and then you're going to use this checkbox to automatically generate a margin expansion ROI. So what this is going to do is it's going to create an expanded structure that allows you to evaluate individual lesions in a multi-met situation. Before the invention of this excellent feature, we had all of our users go in and create these pseudo expansions of each of the targets and then use that in lieu of the entire body structure. So in this case, we automated that process. Creating those individual contours is no longer required. So now you can set here your margin expansion, and if you're looking at the prescription isodose line, anywhere from a few millimeters to up to a centimeter is probably enough to capture the entire region, depending on the conformality of your case. But of course, if this is going to be a lower isodose line, then you're going to want to use a slightly larger margin. So let's save this and just take a look at what these results look like. As you can see here with this feature turned on, you're going to see your conformality index much like you expected to see it from before. In this case, it's passing, but let's go ahead and take a look at what this would look like then in Eclipse, just to help you visualize what ClearCheck is doing behind the scenes. So I'm going to zoom in on this structure. Note this is not a real contour that ClearCheck makes. This is just a mock-up of what it's doing behind the scenes for you. So you will not see this structure in your structure list. All right, so let's go back into ClearCheck, into the template manager, and move on to our next feature. So the next feature is going to be the ability to set an upper and lower threshold for your conformality index. So we're essentially saying the conformality index can go as high as 1.2 or 1.5, but it also has to be above zero point 0.8. So what we're going to do is copy our dose constraint, and at the end of the dose constraint description, we're going to add a greater than sign. Now that's going to take our table and make it red, and that's because we now need to flip these values so that the ideal is the minimum that you would want to achieve, and the limit is the lowest that you would achieve. So you will use that in tandem with our normal conformality constraint so that you've got your upper and then also your lower. That way you don't end up with a conformality index of say 10. All right, switching gears to our classic 7-field static IMRT prostate case. I'm going to use the tag folder to sort for all of my RTOG protocols and then find my prostate template. So another feature that we've added in as far as those constraints is the ability to add an equal to sign. In this case, ClearCheck is going to be checking that the exact coverage is met. You can see here it is failing because it's 98.8 instead of that perfect 98. So if you have a way that you normalize for coverage that you're expecting to see on every single case, you can use that equal to as a great tool. All right, heading back into Template Manager one more time. The next feature I want to go over is our added ability to bring in dose constraints from the prescribed treatment workspace. So for this to work, you can either do this on an existing template or start a new template by clicking on this plus button. And then we're going to go ahead and click on this RX icon. That is going to import any of those dose constraints that the physicians have entered into their ARIA prescriptions. So I'll just delete this extra line, name this prostate, and now you're ready to use your new custom dose constraints. Along those same lines, you can now also import dose constraint templates as XML or CSV files. So you don't have to do those conversions if you're bringing in clinical protocols. You can now directly import those. So you'll just hit the import button, browse to that here in your file explorer, and then hit OK. A few other icons or new functionalities here is if I hover over our export CP button, this is going to export our clinical protocols and clinical goals, making it now compatible with version 16 of Eclipse. So we can also export as a CSV in addition to our current process of exporting as a PDF. This icon is our history icon, and this got a little bit of a revamp here, so you'll be able to have filters and different ways to search for any edits that may have taken place. This now also exists in the admin application, and I'll be sure to show you that. Something else that's new in this workspace is the addition of BED and EQD2 options. So we've added in a worst case uncertainty mode as well as a BED and EQD2 conservative option. Both of these will work on your plan sums, and we will be sharing additional videos and information that explains the details of those buttons and when to use them. So we've also added a new dose constraint. I'm going to add a new line here just for a minute and show you in our constraint type dropdown. We've added the V effective, and that's coming from the RTOG 1112 protocol. So you'll be able to use that constraint with this new version. And there are examples over here on the right to demonstrate how that needs to be entered in for ClearCheck to accept it. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is plan uncertainty and dose estimation curves from the rapid plan models. So now we can bring in all of those calculated plans into ClearCheck. So we'll come down here to our DVH, right click, and then you'll see added into this menu, you've got your uncertainty curves as well as your dose estimation curves. So if you're using Rapid Plan, you can see that you can simply turn on and review all of these with your constraint markers turned on, and then turn them off when you're done evaluating. In this case, I'm going to do the plan uncertainty curves just so you can see the variation based off of those shifts or percent differences that we put in on the Eclipse side. So just scrolling through some of the other features that we've added. In plan checks, at the very bottom, we have our new plan checks, and we'll talk about this more on the admin side, what they look like, how you set them up, but a handful here I just wanted to preview. All right, so let's go into collision check to see the new feature added in there. So for the most part, collision check looks very similar, but you'll notice down here in the bottom left-hand side, we've added the ability to ignore collisions inferior to a slice. All right, so then let's go ahead and send these results back to ClearCheck. So now that I'm in the main evaluation window again, one of the things that you'll see is we've added in these status indicator icons. So this green dot here shows that collision check has been run and indicates to anyone else coming into ClearCheck that it does not need to be run again. This will also work for our portal dosimetry. So let's hop in here. All right, so a couple new things we've added here are the portal dosed image status, and then we've also added in a zoom pan feature. So you'll just need to come unlock this magnifying glass, and then you'll be able to manipulate those images. So they're going to try to auto zoom on the image just to make things a little easier for you. And then at the very end, when you're happy with it, we're going to go ahead and send those back to ClearCheck as well. All right, and now we see the green dot indicating that portal dosimetry has been run. This will also work for ClearCalc results. All right, so then the next thing I want to talk about is our reports. All right, so for new features in the report, the first one that we're going to see is that we've added these pre-shift SSDs. So if you're setting up to some marks and then shifting from there, you can now verify those SSDs at that stable location. So most commonly see this used for breast, but of course there are other applications as well. All right, so let's go ahead and scroll down to our CT slices. And one of our most popularly requested features is now in ClearCheck. So you do now have the ability to fill a contour in your CT slices. All I have to do is find the contour over here on the list and check the box to fill. You can set the transparency and then of course zoom in. You can select multiple contours with different transparencies so that you can really get them to pop against each other. You can also set these fill contours as defaults on the admin side with your report templates. All right, so let's just go ahead and scroll down through the rest. Now we can see that that fill contour is really looking good on all of these CT slices. So the other feature that we've added is that you can now set your user origin to print almost like a contour. So even though you don't have your beams turned on, you can still print that user origin. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start a new image, and then I want to just turn on my user origin as a contour from my list over here on the left. You can change the thickness just to make it feel a little bit more visible, and there you go. All right, down here for our 3D rendering, another really cool feature that they've added, also a very popular feature request, is that you can now see the fields on the skin. So if I rotate this around, you can see each one of those open apertures for my IMRT beams displayed on the skin surface. Zoom in here a little bit so you can really appreciate those. Again, you can change the opacity just to help with that visualization. One of the ways that you can use this, and it's pretty clever, is for your breast patients. You can come in here, add a second 3D render. So now you can turn this on for your medial and your lateral. And then just show one image where it is looking at one side and then another where you have it rotated so you can see that field falling on the lateral side of the patient. And you can continue to add as many images as you need. All right, so let's switch gears over to the admin application. The first feature that I want to talk about is this tags feature. Then we can create a new one by clicking on the plus button here. So just type in the name that you want your tag to be. In this case, I'm just going to do RTOG, and then I'm going to choose which templates to tag with that. So just come in here and highlight all of my RTOG templates. All right, then once I hit the update button here, I can click on an example, and down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see this tag now associated. And you can have as many of these tags as you need. All right, so let's take a look here at an example template. And one of the other features that I want to talk about is now the scale absolute dose option also exists in admin. So previously that was only available in Template Manager. Another really great feature is the ability to lock down a template. So if I click on this padlock over here on the left-hand side next to my template name, you'll see that you have a drop down and you can either lock or unlock a template. This is fantastic if you want to control who is able to edit those templates. And of course, everything being tracked here in the history as well. So you can sort by date, time frame, type of edit, all of that here. Okay, moving on to plan checks. So we've added a few new plan checks in this version and also updated some existing ones. So first off, I'm going to talk about our flash check. So in version 1.7, we just showed you the beams that were failing. Now in version 2.0, you will also get the ability to view that using this 2D button. The black will indicate where the flash is failing. All right, so then up next is the BB check. We've now added in a threshold component. So if your BBs are at a slightly lower density or higher density, we can compensate. Another plan check that has gotten a slight overhaul is our dose rate check. So this is now going to allow you to put all of your energies into one line. So for example, here I have Eclipse Cap Machine, comma 6x, comma 15x. So really just reducing the number of lines in that. A few other changes that we've made is we now allow for machine specific parameters. So you'll see a dot star come over in your plan templates. That is the regular expression wildcard that will grab all of the machines, but now you can specify which machines and the specifics of the parameter. And then not to be forgotten, we have now added a sync button. So if you have multiple plan check templates, as you're going through making these updates, you can just sync those values across all of your plan check templates. So on to our new plan checks. So a couple of these were added specifically from our users. So the first one here, use if the plan number of fractions exceeds a maximum value. This is really targeting if you accidentally flip your dose per fraction and your fractionation number. So you can set a value here, and if you accidentally have 180 fractions going at 25 centigrade per fraction, that was going to catch that for you. So a couple other ones here, some nomenclature, some isostructures, just making sure that everything looks good. Another one that I really like to mention is the treatment unit associated with the hospital. Again, really helpful for treatment planners who are cross-covering. Just a sanity check that your patient that you're working on and the machine that you've assigned to the plan are all going to go together. So it's going to look at that registration tab, see which hospital the patient's registered to, and then in the admin, you set up what machines are available at that institution or that hospital, and it will cross-verify that for you. Another really cool feature that we've added in is the ability to write your own custom plan checks. We had this in text format before, but now it can actually incorporate automation into that. So a few examples here, and now we're going to head over into admin and I'll show you these in a little bit more detail. All right, so the way that this works is we will click on these two arrows with a plus sign down here at the bottom. That's going to add a new line for us. And you'll see that there is a section where you can free text, you can describe what this plan check is going to look like. And then over here on the right, from these drop downs, you can pick any parameters that the API is able to pull over from this list and then set up a regular expression comparison between those two. So this is a very powerful and very flexible tool. You can add multiple lines here and set up some more conditions. Let's look at a few finished examples. So here are a few examples. One of these that I like to talk about is the laterality check. So this will be looking at your plan in detail, making sure that the ISO center, the plan ID are all matching, whether it falls on the patient's right or left side of the body. And then down here at the bottom, this is going to be looking at your nomenclature, your plan properties, and finding that gated, those breath hold patients, and making sure that you have breath hold in the plan, that the plan ID is also matching that. All right, moving on to our treat prep checks. A couple of changes here. We've added techniques for the tolerance tables. We've also added tolerance tables for setup fields. And then you can also set machines for your table coordinates. Moving on to the reports. Lots of new things here in terms of regular expression. But before I get to that one of the things I just wanted to circle up for was the fill structures. So you can come in here and add your PTV or CTV. Again, regular expression is now supported. And then you can set them to fill automatically. So this is going to, when I run the report, look for anything labeled PTV, whether it's PTV 45, PTV 1, PTV, whatever the situation may be, automatically turn it on and then fill that contour with the opacity specified. Also, that's going to work in the beam's eye view. So you can come down here, use that same regular expression, dot star, as the wildcard, and so that anything that starts with PTV or CTV will automatically be turned on. For your portal dosimetry, we can now show a few more features here. So we've also added the ability to add multiple DVHs. So when you click on this, you're going to get a second set of DVHs, and then you're going to be able to title that with whatever you would like it to be. And this is how it'll work. On your report, you'll see both of the DVHs. If you don't need the second one, don't turn anything on and it won't print in your report. You can also add page breaks and just click and drag to put those anywhere in your report. All right, so let's head over to machine configuration. The one new feature here is that you can now have a zero fraction QA mode delivery for your portal dosimetry. So you are just delivering the plan, not creating a treatment QA plan. We'll be able to look for that when looking for those portal dosimetry results. And then finally onto your settings. So my favorite new feature here is the ability to turn off that template manager pop-up screen, which is a really great feature for auto contour users. So rather than bypassing template manager the first time you're running ClearCheck to hop over into auto contour, that will just be hidden. You'll have to manually select template manager when you're ready to add those dose constraint templates. And then also here in the middle is our ARIA document services that is compatible with all of the different clinics, even if you have one installation of ClearCheck and multiple databases. So we're really excited to add that in and accommodate a few more clinics there. Down here in the bottom right section, this is where you'll add the machine IDs for your various hospitals. And so that lets you do the plan check that is looking to make sure the machine exists within the hospital that the patient is registered to. All right, that concludes our ClearCheck version 2.0 new features. If you have any questions, reach out to us at support@radformation.com, and thanks for watching.